everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Instruments, the show where I teach you about all of the different instruments that we use to make music. My name is Mr. Julio, and this here is my friend Otto.
Hey friends!
I am really excited for this episode because we will be looking at one of my favorite instruments of all time. Now, in the other episodes of The Instruments, we talked a lot about string instruments, but this time around we're going to talk about wind instruments.
Wind instruments?
Yeah, Otto! If you remember, when we had a string instrument, we had to pluck or strum the strings to make them make a sound. With wind instruments, we're going to do something a little bit different. We blow into a hole in the instrument, and then the air comes out of a different hole of the instrument, and that's what makes a sound.
Mr. Julio, that makes no sense!
Okay, Otto, give me a second and I will explain it to you. Alright, y'all, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but I have a wind instrument right here to show you how this all works. Today, we're going to be talking about the recorder. The recorder is a very popular instrument. A lot of people see it sort of like a kid's instrument, but I think it's one of my favorite ones. It has a really nice, very soothing sound.
How do you blow into it?
Like this, Otto.
What? That made music!
Yeah, Otto. Wind instruments are really fun, and the recorder will definitely help us understand a little bit about how they work. So let's look at the parts of the recorder and figure all of this out. Alright, y'all, as you can see, the recorder is not very big, but it still has different parts that help it make the sound it makes. When we think about the parts of the recorder, we can also look at it like a human body, like we did with the guitar and with the ukulele.
That is one long fella!
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's tiny though. Anyway, since we're looking at it like the human body, this top part over here, we're going to call the head of the recorder. The head of the recorder is very important. This is the part of the instrument in which we put our mouth to blow into the instrument. The head has this little hole right over here that we're going to call the mouthpiece. If we put our mouth on it, we can make sound. It's called the mouthpiece because that's where your mouth goes.
Okay, got it. Mouthpiece, put my mouth on it.
Exactly, Otto. If you look at the head closely, you'll see that it also has a hole in the front over here. We call that hole the edge. This is where the sound of the instrument is going to come from. Once we blow into the instrument and do all of the things that we do to play the recorder, the air comes out of the edge and makes a sound that the recorder makes. Right underneath the head of the recorder, we have what we call the body of the recorder. Same like a person.
Wait, but where's the neck?
You're right, Otto. I guess the recorder doesn't have a neck. Anyway, this is called the body, and it's also called the middle. And it's one of the most important parts of the recorder. If we look at the middle, or the body of the recorder, you can see all of these different holes going throughout it. These are called the tone holes. And if we cover and uncover those tone holes, we will be changing the notes that we're playing when we blow into the recorder.
Changing the notes? Is that like the frets?
Exactly, Otto. Every instrument has a different way of changing the note that we're playing. With a recorder, we use the tone holes. Let me show you how the tone holes work real quick.
Wow, that does sound very pretty. And that seems easy enough.
Yeah, once you get used to it, it's not that hard. Finally, we have this bottom part of the recorder. And since we're thinking about this like a human, this is going to be the foot of the recorder. This foot of the recorder doesn't have a lot, but it does have one of the tone holes. And if you can see, it's a couple of little tone holes. We can cover the whole thing like this. If I scooch my finger a little bit, I can open up only one of the holes for a little bit of a higher note, or I can take the whole thing off, and that's going to make a new note. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's just a bunch of holes.
Exactly, Otto. Anyway, let's go and look at the history of the recorder so that we know where this thing comes from. Okay, the recorder is a very old instrument. Now, in terms of like flute type instruments, the most popular out there is one that you play sideways like this. You might have seen it before. It's all metal. This is called a transverse flute. However, the recorder is a little bit different. When we play a recorder, we play it straight down, just like this. This is going to be called a vertical flute. I'm bringing up vertical flutes because there were a lot of vertical flutes that were way older than the recorder. A very long time ago, we had instruments like the shakuhachi in Japan that looked a little bit like this, and like the quena in South America, which also looked a little bit like this. All of these vertical flute instruments were very, very, very old. Kind of like dinosaurs.
Wow, Mr. Julio, that is one ancient instrument.
That is correct, Otto. This one's a little bit newer, but... Alright, eventually the time passed, and in Europe, 600 years ago, someone created the first recorder, which makes it way older than the ukulele or the guitar. It's a very old instrument. Anyway, they created the recorder, and people loved it. People played it all over the place. They would have parties with their friends in which they would play playful little songs using their recorder.
That sounds like a very strange party.
You think so, Otto? I think it sounds like a lot of fun. Anyway, eventually people started getting a little bit more serious about writing music, writing longer, more complicated music. And since the recorder was so popular, there were a lot of people writing music for the recorder. This moment in time where people in Europe started getting more serious about making music was called the Baroque period. Now, at this time, there were a lot of very, very talented recorder players that were learning very fast, very hard songs on the instrument. Since the recorder was so popular and this was its time to shine, we call that the golden age of the recorder.
Ooh, shiny.
After some time passed and we went outside of the Baroque period, people eventually created that sideways flute that we talked about, the transverse flute. When this happened, the recorder lost a lot of its popularity. People weren't writing music for it as much anymore. However, since it was so easy to play, just putting your fingers in all the holes, people started using the recorder to teach music to little kids. Because of this, there's a lot of people that look at the recorder like a children's instrument. However, the recorder was a very serious instrument at a certain point in time. It just became a way to teach music to young people in a way that is fun and accessible. And hey, it has a very beautiful sound. I mean, I actually use a recorder in my own music all the time.
Well, I want to hear you play it.
Okay, let's hear what this thing sounds like. Alright, y'all. Playing the recorder can seem a little bit weird at first, but it's actually pretty easy. All you gotta do is cover every hole in the recorder with a different finger, including this one right behind. I'm going to use my thumb for that one, and then I'm just going to put all my fingers. As you can see, the only one I'm not using is this one. If now I blow really softly into a recorder like this, I'm going to get a note called C. Let me just play it for you again.
That's very beautiful.
Thank you, Otto. If I start taking off my fingers as I'm blowing, that's going to change the notes of what I'm playing. Like this. If I take the fingers off of the holes, then that's going to change the notes that I'm playing. I'm going to start taking off my fingers, and I'm going to start with the pinky that's right at the foot of the recorder. Like this.
Before.
Don't worry, Otto. That's called the major skill, but we're going to talk about that in a different episode. Now, when we were looking at the guitar and the ukulele, we could play more than one string at the same time, and when we played all of these notes at the same time, that's how we played a chord. The recorder can only play one note at a time, which means that we're mostly going to use it to play melodies, like this one.
It's Twinkle Twinkle!
Exactly, Otto. If I ever wanted to play chords with the recorder, I would have to get a bunch of different recorders and have everyone play a different note, all at the same time. Sort of like this.
How do you do that? Why was there 4 of us in the screen?
A good magician never reveals his secrets. Okay friends, it's been a lot of fun learning about the recorder and about wind instruments in general. I hope you enjoyed learning about this new way of making music. I will see you next time.